Okay, hey everybody. This is testing morning here at On the Glide Slope. I haven't made a video in a little while. The Mooney Ovation is sitting here on the ramp at El Paso, which is where it currently sits in its point-to-point journey, which started in Half Moon Bay, made its way to Denver, took a south turn, went down to the far southeastern tip of Texas, and now is heading back up northwest, ultimately to Seattle. And testing a couple things today. In particular, I've downloaded some new clouds from the Soft Clouds package and sky colors, which I think look nice. I want to see how they work on frames. I've got a new shadow Lua script that's supposed to make better shadows, and I have to say those shadows look a lot better than they did before. They're not as jaggy, including in the cockpit, as you can see. But also, I want to test, I'm getting a couple of jags here, and I don't know if that's just because I'm streaming or not, or it's the plugins or the clouds. That's one of the things we're testing is performance. But third, or sixth, or I'm not quite sure where I am on the list. Hey, Mike. Hey, taxi into position. Good to see you. I'm going to bring the window into the chat here in just a second. But another thing we're testing is we are testing the new MoveVR plugin, which allows me to bring in windows into VR. If I switch the view here quickly to my desktop, you should be seeing my desktop right now. You can see I've got two windows open. One is ForeFlight, and one is the chat window. And if I switch back over to the Rift, oh, we're also streaming in 1080p, so let me know the quality of the stream. Now, the kids are online, so I know there's some stuff going on in terms of their bandwidth, but I'm curious to see the quality of the stream in 1080p and how it's looking. Another update, I'm running in 1.7. You see just the standard HD output because it's the mirror from Oculus that is being streamed. But I have tested with updating to 1.7 super sampling, and what I find is that it works quite well. I can see quite well in the cockpit. I didn't really lose a lot from performance. But here's the exciting thing. So the MoveVR plugin, it's still in beta, it's new. But if I go to the plugins window, here's MoveVR. It's still in alpha, if not beta. And I click Manage Windows. Here are all the windows that are open on my desktop right now. And I can say, okay, give me the Google Chrome chat. I want high quality. And I can have a little bit of a delay there. Probably doesn't make a difference, 20 frames, where it will render the image for every 20 frames of what's going on in X-Plane. Support mouse dragging. Move to VR. And here's our chat. And in essence, it's doing what we did before in Oculus, pardon me, in Oculus Dash, but it's doing it. The sound is a bit low. Volume is really low. Okay, hold on, let me fix that. Curious. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Let me know how that is. I was messing around with my volume settings. Okay, so you probably couldn't hear any of that stuff. But without having to run Oculus Dash, here I have my chat window. I can resize it. I have it for night rendering so it doesn't ruin my night vision. But I can see your chat and I can actually scroll. I can, much better. Okay, thanks. I can click on it. I can select. The mouse options work. So if I had a keyboard, I'd be able to say something. But I don't want to. So, hello, Forgotten the Passengers. Hello, Rondi. So, hey, Sim, Captain Mike, I'm glad to hear that. I'm wishing you good luck. Fury Spitfire. It sounds like everyone else is hearing me, so you might check. But this is the new MoveVR plugin. So that is the Chrome window that I was able to pull directly in. I can resize it how I need to resize it. I can make it smaller if I want to make it smaller, and put it where I want to put it. And as far as I can tell, there's no impact on frame rates from that, at least not appreciably. So what that also means is now I can go into MoveVR, and I can bring in, that'd be funny to bring in the Oculus mirror, see myself seeing myself. How's the sound? If you can give me an update on sound, that would be great. The other Chrome window I want to pull in today is we'll bring in best quality, no delay. Oh, that's the live chat. That's not the one I want to bring in. Where is it? OBS, mirror, Oculus Sim Checker, NVIDIA Inspector. It's got to be this one. Oh, somehow I selected on Sim Captain Mike, and it brought back my window. Sorry about that. Hold on. I was wondering why that didn't make sense. This is what we wanted. Okay. ForeFlight. Move to VR, best quality, support mouse dragging. Okay. Now, that's not a very big window right now. I'll close this. But if we resize it, that's ForeFlight. It could just as easily be, if you wanted to use SkyVector. Here's what's cool about this. Hey, Peter, good to see you. And that has hurt my performance quite a bit, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just that extra window. Let's see. Let me close it. No, something else is going on. Windows is doing something. Something just hit my frames pretty bad. But I'll bring that again, just so you guys can see it. I ate some almonds a few minutes ago, and now I have to cough. Yeah, so whatever Windows is doing, it's done. Manage Windows, ForeFlight Web, bring it into VR, best quality. Now, there are different quality levels, and like if I go medium quality, you'll see it's harder to see. At least for me it is. I mean, it's still manageable. I could get by with that. But best quality is what I want. And then now we can set this just like a yoke-mounted tablet. And now I can do the things I can drag around. I can go up here, I can load a flight plan. I can, you have to get the click just right, but I can pull up the information, the ADOS and everything else. If I want the taxi diagram, there it is. I can rotate it. I can zoom. So, and I can pick this up and move it around and put it wherever I want to put it. So, hey, Mike, you should if you can. That's great. My airplane's finally working again. I'm supposed to fly next week, hopefully. But so what's great about this is when you have to do this with Oculus Dash, you have to run the Dash software, and it really is taxing. It's just one more thing that the sim has to be managing. Now they say it doesn't work as well if you try to, if you size both at the same time. You can grab right here and do this, and what I've been reading online is that for some reason that changes the quality of the rendering. I haven't really noticed it, but we'll try it again. Can I read the details on the charts? I can. So if I go to MoveVR, manage windows, and I pull in Google Chrome again, ForeFlight, support mouse dragging. Oops, that's low quality, I don't want that. Best quality. And then if I do one size at a time, it supposedly gives you, it doesn't downgrade the quality of the image as much. So if I put this right here, that's even a little bit larger than I might want it to be. That is about where my iPad would be in the real airplane, give or take. I can probably make it a little bit larger. I can also resize it in the desktop. So if I go to the desktop, I'm just going to lift up my headset here for a second. And I drag this window. It shows that happening in real life, so in real time, so you can adjust kind of the quality or the size of the window on the desktop as well. So I can set this here now, in essence, and go, okay, I've got, and pivot it however, make it a knee board, put it up on the ceiling if I need it to be on the ceiling, if I want my charts above me. Like, oh, there's my charts. I can't read them very well because they're so close, but I could stick it over here. You can put it wherever you need to put it. And we're off to the races. And so I can scroll around. And if I have it active as the active window, just by clicking on it in the desktop, then I can actually scroll in and out with the joystick. So other thing that's cool about this is then with ForeFlight or other applications like it, I can turn on a radar layer, and now, I've got active radar, weather radar, going in the sim. Don't want to be in Kansas City today. Now that's because I have ForeFlight, and I pay for ForeFlight from my real world flight training. But there's a million different places you can get weather radar online. So we can kind of set this here. We can make it our knee board, and now we can zoom back into El Paso. Oops, I don't know where I just zoomed myself. There we go. And yeah, I can read the charts quite well. And if you can't read the charts very well, you can just make the thing bigger. Make it as big as you need it to be, as a knee board or whatever it's going to be. So yeah, I can read all that quite well. In fact, I can read everything on that, no problem. El Paso International ELP 118.38 is 120.0. So that, let me look over here. We're in the Mooney. And we're testing several things. We're testing the new clouds that I downloaded from the soft cloud package. We're testing, easy for me to say, the new shadows, which seem to be doing pretty well. But mostly we're testing these plugins. Now there's one other plugin I want to show you, and it's from the same guy, Folko, F-O-L-K-O, on the org. That in addition to coming up with this awesome plugin that lets you bring Windows directly into VR without running Oculus Dash, Fury Spitfire. I just found a. Yeah, I'm questioning. Are you guys getting any lag with 1080p? Is it doing okay for you from a bandwidth standpoint? Let me know in the chat if you could. I just found a scenery enhancement on the .org that cleans up the. It's a little Lua script that cleans up the scenery or the shadow line. So if you look there, that shadow line is really fine now. And so same with the airplane there. And before they could get kind of jagged. I feel like I'm losing a couple frames. It might be the clouds, because they're higher depth clouds. I might change out of that cloud package and go back to the older ones and see how that affects performance. But we're also streaming in 1080p, and we've got desktop windows open. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, sets them to high res. So I'm most excited about this because the ability to have the charts directly in here is great. Now, the final app or utility out, and then we're going to test one more thing. I downloaded the new most recent version of the night lighting modification for the ground lights, and I want to see how they look in VR. But the final thing, and this is another plugin from the same gentleman called Avitab, which is really great. It allows you to bring a moving map if you didn't have like ForeFlight, or it allows you to bring PDFs easily into VR. Those almonds are killing me. So if I go to Avitab and I click toggle tablet, it gives me this. Also shows me my frames. I don't think I was getting 121 frames a second there a second ago. It shows me the time, it shows me the frames. I can resize this as well. So if I want it to be bigger or smaller, I can easily just resize it. And I want it to be a little smaller. Let's just put it here for a second. Yeah, well, I'll see if I want those frames or not. I think the shadows look good, but I don't know if I want to lose frames for them. Okay, so a couple things. What this does is with this plugin, you have some libraries or just some folder structure on your computer where you can drag in PDFs. So I haven't put any plane manuals in my manual folder, but it goes to the aircraft folder, and this is the aircraft folder for the Ovation in X-Plane. And of course, there's a documentation folder, and they have procedures, normal procedures, for example. I click on that, and here's the PDF. Now, if I wanted, I could rotate it this way and rotate the thing. And I can scroll around in the PDF. Why it's not letting me make that window any bigger, I'm not quite sure, but so it is. So be it. But let's just put it here, and I can scroll pages with the page marker. And I can zoom in if I want to zoom in. So it would be ideal if I could widen that somehow, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But even if we went this way, and I rotated it back, here are procedures in the PDF. So you can scroll, I can scroll through the different, obviously through the different checklist items. In essence, if I want checklists or procedures, if I go back to home, airports, this is cool. This is really cool. KELP. It brings up the database of information about any airport that you enter, including weather from when X-Plane loaded. Now, this isn't updating with each X-Plane update. He's going to modify it to do that, but it gives me the METAR. So I can see it's 260 at 12, gusting 21. It's windy up here today. Visibility 10, scattered at 1,000, scattered at 1,500. That looks about right. Altimeter 2995 remarks automated with precipitation, wind, peak wind divided 2.6, and that was at 10:59. Temperatures. Okay. So and it shows what the runways are, and it gives you your frequency information. So if you didn't have charts and you knew you were flying into some place, it makes it easy to get to it, and it keeps the information. So we're going to go to truth or consequences today. Later today, I'm going to fly to truth or consequences. I'm going to do that at 11 o'clock Eastern time, so I can be on Pilot Edge. So if you want to fly with me or tune in, I'll probably stream that flight I haven't been streaming a lot of flights recently, but I think I'll stream that one. And I can come up here to Truth or Consequences. And I designed an airport that I uploaded to the gateway for this, by the way. KTCS. So there's my information for Truth or Consequences, and I can just toggle between them easily enough. So that's very cool. So that's airports, that's plane manual, maps. You can load maps in, it's got a moving map in it, which is cool. It does it from just OpenStreetMap. It downloads the tiles, which can take a second, as you can see. But it has a moving map. If you didn't have ForeFlight, there's a moving map for you. Notes. So it's hard to write with this thing. But if you needed to want to write down quickly 124.35, you can do it. You can get away with it. You could probably do a craft cleared to ORD. Vectors to Cecile Beach. See, I won't ever remember what that says. So it doesn't have the writing down perfectly yet, but if you just needed to write down a squawk code real fast, you can do that. But it also has keyboard. So if you wanted to note something to yourself while you're flying, you could leave it in numbers and just do freaks 2.3.5. It wouldn't be 5.5, but 1.2.3.5. You could do that. So it's got a little note feature, which is cool. So notes, plane manual, maps, routes. So if I wanted to get a route, I could KELP. And let's say that we're going to fly to John Wayne, KSNA. There it gives me recently cleared routes, which I could then enter into my GPS. That's pretty cool. And then finally, charts. So you can download charts. If you use SkyVector, almost all the charts, including arrival and departure charts, are available there. You can load them in. You can load in airport charts. So Albert Whitted, there it is. It's instantaneous, as you can see. You can zoom in and zoom out with your controller. So if you wanted to fly charts for VHS, I'm tired. For IFR, you certainly could. I downloaded a TAC chart. The downloaded raster TAC charts are quite low quality from our friends at the FAA. But if you could find a higher quality, higher resolution chart, you certainly could use it with this. So lots of guys who have been looking to get their IFR charts in particular have been using this little application to do it. Hey Floyd, good to see you. I haven't tried voice commands, but I don't really use them. I have, however, started using, and I paid for, Pilot to ATC, and I've actually been quite impressed with it. It does a good job of understanding and rendering my language, and so in fact, let's give that a try. Let's close. How do I close? I don't remember how I close it. Maybe I have to close it here. Yeah. So, yeah. So I fly on Pilot Edge so much, but there are times I want to fly when Pilot Edge isn't online, and I want to fly around Florida and things. And boy, those mountains look great. And so I started playing with Pilot to ATC, and for folks who haven't seen it, let me boot it up real quick. We'll see if we can make it work. I think I'm still in the trial phase. Looks like I am. We'll get the airplane started up while we're at it. Oops. Boost pump. Parking brakes on. Okay, this is the Alabama Mooney. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over here, and pilot to ATC is still downloading, so it's still accessing data online. I'm just peeking out from under my headset here for a second. But I'm really excited about the MoveVR, that to be able to bring windows in. You can bring YouTube windows in. If you wanted to bring in tutorial windows for individual aircraft, you can bring those in. You can bring in little nav map. I mean, you can really bring whatever in into the airplane that you want. Any desktop window, it does a pretty good job. You need to have hardware acceleration turned off on the window, I believe, but it's not a difficult thing to do. You just do it in the settings. One thing I've noticed is that the mouse click in ForeFlight is finicky. There we go. So like the fact that I can see all this online live and not have to have my iPad on my knee is awesome. Okay, so pilot to ATC is running. Let me connect it. I also turned on the chatter files. I downloaded chatter files, which is cool. Let's connect it. But I've noticed the chatter files are really quiet.
So Untitled information whiskey. 1300 Zulu weather. Wind 030 at 5. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 6000 broken. Temperature 7, dew point 0. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runways 04, 08.
I am in my physical cockpit at the moment doing this. Yes.
08 right. Advise on initial contact.
Because that's where all my computer stuff is. Let's turn on the noise cancellation. There, it makes it a little quieter. The chatter files are cool, but I can't. Like, you can barely hear her there in the background, and I can't figure out how to get it mixed correctly. I have the volume for pilot to ATC maxed out, and I just can't get it to be loud enough. So to make it work, I have to turn the volume on X-Plane way down, which I just haven't quite figured out how to make it work. No, the controls, I actually use the controls, so I'm using the real world yoke and pedals and throttle quadrant. So like right here, my hand is actually on the throttle in the physical cockpit. All right.
1300 Zulu weather. Wind 030 at 5.
Go back to El Paso.
Sky conditions 6000 broken. Temperature 7, dew point 0. Altimeter 2992.
Ground is 121.9.
08 right. Departing runways 04, 08 right. Advise on initial contact. You have whiskey.
I don't know why it's playing chatter for me given that we're on an ATIS frequency, but okay. Okay, so pilot to ATC should work pretty well. Let's see if it's working. Is it connected? I think it's connected. What is it? Ready for taxi north departure? El Paso ground, November 15 Juliet Golf, ready for taxi north departure.
Aircraft calling ground, say again with your call sign.
Didn't hear me. El Paso ground, November 15 Juliet Golf, ready for taxi north departure. Now it falls apart in the demo. Demo pressure. I wonder if the chatter is mixing it up. El Paso ground, November 15 Juliet Golf, ready for taxi. It read that as Popeye say ground, November 15 Juliet Golf. So maybe I should just say ground. Ground, November 15 Juliet Golf, ready for taxi, north departure.
November 15 Juliet Golf, taxi to runway 26, left via taxiways Victor, Lima. Hold short runway 26 left.
Taxi to 26 left via Victor Lima, hold short 26 left, November 15 Juliet Golf. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I can say ground weather.
This is ground weather at Kilo Echo Lima Papa is SCT. Visibility is 10 miles, winds are 244 at 12 knots, cloud coverage is 15,000 SCT. Current altimeter is 299.5.
So that's pretty cool. So I've been using Pilot to ATC. I've been liking it quite a bit. It does a really good job, I would say 80% of the time with the language. Sometimes it doesn't hear me, sometimes I don't hear it very well. But you know, it is what it is. It does good with if I request advisories. It does a good job with that. Let's see if it'll do it here. Where are we going? Truth and consequences is, what was it? TC. TCS. So let's try that. Ground November 15 Juliet Golf requests VFR flight following from Kilo Echo Lima Papa to Kilo Tango Charlie Sierra 8500. It's not going to read that.
November 15 Juliet Golf, please repeat request with destination airport identifier.
Yeah, we'll try that again. Ground November 15 Juliet Golf requests VFR flight following from Kilo Echo Lima Papa to Kilo Tango Charlie Sierra at 8,500 feet.
November 15 Juliet Golf cleared VFR to Kilo Tango Charlie Sierra with radar advisory service at 8,500 feet. Squawk 3463 advise of altitude changes en route.
3463 for 15 Juliet Golf. So, anyway. So now we've got flight following and taxi instructions here on the ground through virtual air traffic control. It's not XEnviro or FS enhanced. It is, pardon me, it is the Soft Clouds package that I downloaded this morning. And I like it. Looks good. I'm not liking the way that XEnviro does visibility and distances in VR right now. I find it's way too. It doesn't do haze well. Like those mountains wouldn't look as realistic right now. It looks good in the normal sim, but in VR I'm finding it's not working. So I downloaded the Soft Clouds. That's their sky colors, and they're more high def clouds. I think they look good. So it's a day of evolutions here in the sim for VR at least. We've got ForeFlight running with a moving map. We've got our chat window open over here. Now I've got new night lighting, so let's play with that. Let's make it clear, and let's make it nighttime. Yeah, so there's a lighting.txt file, lights.txt, that modifies, I should be able to modify the brightness of this. Let's see how that works. Where's our ForeFlight Chrome? Oh yeah, that's great. That's much better. So it changes the colors of a lot of the default lights in night lighting for X-Plane and makes them so they are more true to what you actually see in the United States. I'm going to turn off Pilot to ATC so I don't get yelled at. And we're going to go ahead and do a quick flight here at night. Okay. Not anything special, I'll just... Let's turn on our taxi lights though. There we go. Might as well go by the book and turn on the strobes and the nav lights too. Yeah, so I'll just probably find a long taxiway on which to take off here, because I want to just see the quality of the night lights here. There we go. And what it does is it decreases the number of yellow lights. You don't see as many yellow lights on highways anymore in the US. It adds greater variety of lighting to the different light. It increases the pools and the spill rate of lights. Some guys think it makes the pool spills too big. I actually think it looks good. And I also turned down the brightness of, there's another text that modifies the brightness of the stars, and that's much more realistic to me. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. That sounds like we just ruined something. Yep. We just had a crash, and I have a feeling that it was the, let me check the log file real quick. I have a feeling that it was the Mooney that probably crashed it. I presume you guys are still streaming. Let's just check. Yep, we're still streaming. Let me just check them. And I'm going to change the riff here so you can see the desktop so you're not just staring at nothing. There we go. Let's just look real quick here. Hard to know. Okay, well, we'll reboot again real quick. It won't take but a second. I can still see the chat. So about the night lighting. So TJ, I'll take that question. TJ asks if you don't want to, with all the VR flying I do lately, do I think it's worth having the physical cockpit? I don't know, I gotta say that, here we can switch back over to, you guys can see what's going on here, that's fine. I've flown in the physical cockpit once, probably in the last month and a half. I tried to stream from it the other day, and the webcam driver crashed, which, you know, wasn't the fault of the cockpit. But, you know, I gotta tell you, I'm keeping the cockpit because I'm gonna go into IFR training. And I think for IFR training, this is probably gonna be better. But now with the way I can manage the charts and stuff, I don't know. The ability, the cockpit, compared to VR, the cockpit just doesn't feel like flying. It really doesn't. You don't have the sense of space, you don't have the sense of motion. You don't, I mean, if I were starting on a budget and I didn't ever want to fly with other people, I would get an Oculus Rift and as powerful a PC as I could right away. And I'd buy a yoke, and I'd invest in a good yoke, a Cytec to start, and then I'd get a real yoke like a Yoko. And I'd get a throttle quadrant and pedals and a trim wheel. And I'd be off to the races. And then if you decide that you want the physical cockpit, then build one. But I also, you know, so there's a long post I put on the glideslope.net about my kind of review of the two and how I feel about them. Hey, father, son. It's good to see you. We had a crash, so we're rebooting. You know, so like father, son, he did the cockpit as a project with his son. You know, and VR is not a project like that. And you can't fly side by side. You could with two complete setups where you're connected over network, I suppose. But, you know, my brother's going to come visit in a week or two, and we're going to get in the cockpit and have a good time doing that. And it's a little easier in terms of manipulating radios and the rest. But, you know, when the day comes when we have haptic gloves, it's going to be a different ballgame. And all that stuff is going to be better. Okay, I'm going to switch this back over to the Rift. There we go. Let me do some stuff here. Oh, great, now everybody knows my name. Oh, maybe not. I really am trying to remain as anonymous as I can, just for personal reasons. Hide that window. Let's turn on Lua. And let's get our space warp set to 45 FPS. We've got that done. Okay, and let's go back and make it. Let's first change my, let's get in the cockpit seat. There we go, that's a little better. The Rift is freaking out for some reason. Really freaking out. Okay, I'll pull the windows back in here so we can see what we're doing. Minimize the other windows. I get better performance when the windows are minimized. Let's change our weather while we're at it. Make it clear. Maybe Cirrus. Cirrus is interesting. Well, let's make it nighttime. Okay. Let's get some lights going here. There we go. Let's bring in our chat. Okay, there we go. We got that going. Let's turn on some lights. So yeah, I mean, I just got to say, and I get, you know, I've been a little, I haven't been disappointed, but it's been a little less fun for me a little bit because, I mean, I get a lot of feedback from people saying, you know, I really preferred the videos on VR or real and not VR, and I don't really want to watch them anymore, and that's fine. You know, if people prefer the physical cockpit, I think that's great. It's harder for me to shoot video in the physical cockpit. The GoPro stuff crashes. You know, I've got a million USB devices all running at the same time. I mean, you saw how fast I was up and running here. We had a crash, and I'm up and flying again in just like, you know, 5 minutes, 4 minutes. My frame rates are awesome. It's gorgeous. Incidentally, so there's a modification for the nights, for the lighting at night that turns down the number of stars you can see. This is a lot more realistic, I would think, being El Paso. I might turn them up a little bit. That's a little few stars, but before you'd see a million stars, this looks a lot more real to me. And there's the moon, and I have a high-def moon. Let's see. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, that looks better. Back into the airplane seat. Okay. So it's just harder in a lot of ways, the physical cockpit. I mean, there's a million things that can go wrong. I mean, you're managing power levels and, I mean, USB hubs and, you know, it's just, at some point, it stops being as fun. But it's great, and it's not as claustrophobic, and, you know, you don't get as hot. Although I actually can get quite hot in the physical cockpit gear up, or in the physical cockpit. Yeah, so that ramp looks pretty good down there, I would say. as does that down there. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about the cockpit is it's a heck of a fun project. Building a cockpit is a blast. You know, it's a lot of fun to do, and I'm not going to fault anybody for that. I mean, I learned a ton building mine. You know, and it was a great experience. I've learned a million things about computers I didn't know before. Let's go check out this highway. Let's also dim. Let's dim the MoveVR window brightness a little bit. There we go, that's better. Yeah, and the immersion. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? How's the audio? I messed around with a bunch of my levels. Yeah, see, like that, it looks a lot more like a highway these days. I love being able to see the taillights of the traffic. When you can see stoplights and let's go see what's going on at the military ramp. And then we'll go make a landing. Audio's good. Yeah, so, and I think father-son might agree with me, but this feels like flying in a way that other stuff doesn't feel like flying. Okay, so the night lighting is looking solid. The colors are good. The new HD moon looks good. The stars are a lot less in terms of, oh, is that traffic right there? That is traffic with no lights. That must be from whoever built the scenery for the military, for the Army field here. That's really interesting. Motion sickness, sorry, FTP, I'll slow it down. That's really great that he's doing better in math and stuff. Got the ramp down there, yeah. Okay. So, and there goes that weird traffic again. Let's get ready to land here. So, okay, so the night lighting turned out looking good the way I wanted it to look. Like there, that is, look at that. How good is that? Oh man. Where are we? We're fine on gear. But it's the immersion, it's the high def, it's the 3D more than anything. It's so, you know, when people ask me that, you know, would I do it over again? Yeah, I would not replace the experience that I got building the sim. It was awesome. Got me into aviation, taught me a ton about technology I didn't know, and I was pretty techie to start with. First flaps. Out of the manifold pressure. We're going to fly a little side slip here, I think, on landing. We'll talk about that. I don't know why. I'm running on an older card. Trimming for about 80 knots. Back end manifold pressure up to about 13. Trim, trim, trim. This is cool. The Airfest at MacDill Air Force Base is this week. And yesterday we drove about 10 minutes from our house, 15 minutes from our house. And caught the Blue Angels practice. It was really cool. They were right over our head. Landing lights. Next notch. And we will just fly back to the glide slope because we're a little high. Or low. Big difference between low and high. Trim, trim, trim. Stable. Stable at 80. Little manifold pressure to bring us up. Gear down. I'm probably landing into the wind since I don't see any centerline lights. No. Here come our landing lights. We're nice and stabilized, 80 knots. Looking good. Into the ground effect. Look to the end of the runway. Pitch up. Come out of the manifold slowly and easily. Right on the center line with a little squeaker. I should fly at night more often. Okay, good test. I'm going to put in a slightly brighter set of starlights because that's a bit too few stars. Well, it's a full moon though, so I'll probably keep it as it is. Maybe bump it up just a little bit. And the rest of the night lighting looks good. And yeah. How is touch feedback? Touch feedback is good, Rob. This thing, when I turn the dial, goes click, 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 click when I turn and when I flip switches and stuff. TJ, good to see you. I don't know, Forgotten. I didn't really do anything to change the US. I mean, even these lights I just downloaded now. But, I mean, I download ortho scenery for wherever I want to fly. I have the European mesh, which looks great. And I've got, you know, there's HD mesh available for all over the world. There's free ortho, which is free. There's free ortho scenery all over the world. So what I've done is I've just invested some time, no money, in just a couple of little things. HD mesh. The World to XP mesh, which again is available almost every place. That's the overlays, tells me where roads and power lines and things like that go. And ortho scenery. And, you know, that's all it takes. Let's make it, I don't know, this is kind of cool coming in at night. So, yeah, but I wouldn't want VR, I mean, for me, I do this to keep my flight brain going in between times when I actually get to really fly in the real airplane. And sometimes for me, that's weeks. And, you know, not flying for weeks is not the safest thing in the world that you can do. So for me, I fly, let's turn our strobe off. For me, I use it, you know, not just for fun. It's fun, but I use it to stay sharp. I fly with real, I didn't tonight, obviously, but, or tonight. See, I think it's nighttime, and it's not even nighttime. I do it to stay with procedures and to keep my air traffic control skills good and my sense like there at landing, practicing flying in right on 80 knots, having the numbers right, having stabilized approach, you know, feeling the flare. That's all stuff that I do, and I think that that's harder to do without pedals and a yoke. I wouldn't do it without pedals and a yoke. But like in the physical cockpit, this feeling of taxiing into this hangar is not anything like this. This feels like taxiing into a hangar. And we'll go over here where we can get a snack from the candy bar machine. I mean, I just got a little motion sickness right there just from that turning. So, there you go. Yes, X-Plane 11. Sneak. Let's go one more quick low pass out of here. Let's go with a short field takeoff technique. See how short field we can make it. See if we can get up before we hit the taxiway. Oh, I don't know. Here it comes. Here it comes. We're not into the wind. Oh, we made it. Oh, we're stalling. Oh, nose down. Don't stall the airplane. Gear up. Let's do some barnstorming. Again, things we would never do in real life. First flaps. And flaps 0. Permission to buzz the tower. Negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. Yeah. Okay, we've got a real problem now. You guys ready? And no motor. Immediate. We're going to try the impossible turn. Best glide. It's about 80. Trim. No gear yet. We're not going to make it to that field. We might make it to that one. Prop is feathering. Landing lights are on. Best glide again about 80. It's going to be close. We might make the displaced threshold. Okay, I'm going for the ramp. We're not going to make the runway. Gear down. Nope, we're not going to make. We're going to live maybe. Oh, there's a runway right there. Oh. We slide into the turf. We avoid the 757. Brakes! I should have looked around a little bit more to find best landing spot. Oh well. Yep, we gotta do tough drills. May happen one day. Alright, so it is 10:45. I'm gonna come back in 15 minutes for the open of the Pilot Edge network, and I will at that time stream the flight. So I'm going to fly from here, El Paso, up to Truth or Consequences. If you want to join me and you're on Pilot Edge, load into El Paso ramp. I'll be at the JA ramp, and we can fly up there together. If you want to follow along, I'll be streaming it in VR. And forgotten passengers screaming in fear in the back. We were both screaming in fear on that one. I'll probably take a moment to reboot the sim just so that I've got fresh memory and everything. So I'm going to log out of the VR and log out of the chat and stop streaming, and we'll be back in about at the top of the hour. So and again, it looks like the 1080p was working okay. No delays, huh? So I'll be streaming in 1080p. We'll practice that as well. Okay, see you guys in a bit.